Okay, for my multimedia class, we were asked to do some examples of some CSS style sheets uh, to create, some HTML pages. And basically, I just made some simple pages just to get familiarized with CSS a little bit more and see how it works with manipulating code in HTML. And for my first practice here, I have a simple, two line, 2 or 3 lines of text that should be 35 point font. And take a look at the source code. We see we have P font family is identified as Verdana, Geneva, Tahoma, or Sans Serif with a font size of 35 point. And it's supposed to just be as simple as that. Wherever there's a P tag at, the font should be related to the information right here. Okay. And the second practice, I work more with colored backgrounds of the text and the page in general. Uh, also using CSS style sheets for this as well. When we take a look at the code, we see we're manipulating the body, the background colors of that body. We're manipulating the background color of a H2 header, and we're manipulating of a P tag the background color. And as you've seen in the practice, the background was blue of the body in general. The background of the H2 headers are green, and the background of any P or paragraph tag would be red. And as you see here, when I wrote in the body, I have the body here. It's directly, involved with what I have here, blue, and I have an H2 header tag, so the color should be that color. And we have the paragraph CSS practice, as it says, it should be this color. And as we see, it does those colors for us. And here, with this page, I just basically wanted to, see what I can do. There's actually another thing I plan to do with this, and instead of these bullets here, I was going to use some sort of image instead, but you can also use CSS style sheets for as well. But what I did was I just wanted to work with something more simple right now, and that was just a border around the text. And you can use CSS style sheets for that. And we took a look at the source code here. We see that we name it P.1. That's what we call it, and it has a border style that's solid, and it has a width of 5 pixels. One thing that we noticed differently from the first practice is it says P.1 and not just P. And that's because we don't want all our P tags to be affected. We just want to deal mainly with only one specific P tag. And when we deal with that P tag, we have to make sure we call the P1 so that it only manipulates that one. And right here, here it is. We call class equals 1, and we call that tag, and we call that attribute we created here. And it only affects this line. My favorite basketball player of all time is Michael Jordan. As you see here, now we have a black border around our text. With this practice, I basically wanted to use Microsoft Expression, Web Expression, to just see how they directly deal with CSS styles without me physically putting it in there, just to get an example of how it works, visually, without actually doing it yourself as well. And we take a look at the source page. They have auto style 1, auto style 2, auto style 3, which manipulates the alignment of the text, the size and color of the background of the text, the style of the text, whether it's solid or not, the border of that text, I should say, and the width, 1 pixel. And when we have our different tags that they're directly involved with, you see that it called the specific style, and it affected the overall page. That's the beauty of CSS style sheets like that. We go back and take a look at the next practice. This is what I use, the external method of CSS style sheets, to manipulate this text right here. And basically, I put some different attributes that I typed up to affect the web page, and I saved it as a CSS file, and I called it in here. And when we show the source page, you see in the header, I call my style sheet external.css, and then when I call it, when I write the attributes that's related to the text that I have on my web page, it manipulates it accordingly to what I put in my CSS page that I create separately. And this is the best method, I believe, if you're working with a lot of web pages and you want to manipulate different things in each one of those web pages. So definitely external is the way to go. And in this last practice, I just wanted to mess around with some tables and just see how I can manipulate it using CSS styles and make it look neat and stuff like that. And when we take a look at this source page, we can manipulate the size of the borders of the table, the width of the table, the height of the table, etc., using CSS style sheets, which is pretty cool as well. And another thing I wanted to take a look at is the site that I created at the Morgan Hackathon competition. Me and our group made this, and this also uses CSS style sheets, but this is a little more complicated. And since we used a template, the style sheets were already created for us, but we could take a look at some more professional kind of style sheets of how it would look, incorporated in a more organized kind of website. And we'll take a look at the source code here. And as you can see right here, we have different style sheets dealing with the body. Different things the body's supposed to look like, with the padding of it, the height, the width of it, etc. And all this is from the template that we got to use for our site when we were first, creating it. And this section right here deals directly with the navigation bar. And we go back, the navigation bar is right here, and this is all used using CSS style sheets. You take a look. Well, since we're not logged in, certain pages you can't get to. You can't get to your dashboard or your account stuff really until you log in, but you can see some of the other pages. Again, this is used using style sheets, and we can also use style sheets to create this. We didn't actually do that, but that's something I plan to manipulate on my own time, to use style sheets to get it to format this way. And we can use different headers for each one of these and use a style sheet so that directly, every time I put a header and put that name, it will make it a certain way. And take a look at this source code for this specific page. All these different pictures and etc. that we have all can be manipulated using style sheets. We didn't really use style sheets for this, but all these things you can use style sheets for it. Just call it from a separate document externally and use style sheets to make this nice. That might be another project for me to do, dealing with our site, to just make it more, just make it easier and less code, easier to read by using style sheets to lessen the code here. But basically, I just wanted to get an example of a more, detailed site that uses style sheets, so you can see, all the different things you can do with style sheets. It's definitely very interesting, and it definitely gives you a lot of power with creating HTML web pages.